Welcome to Zennurgy, the interactive podcast providing resources for building a better life. I am Zennurgy. I'm your catalyst, your conduit, your coach to that better life. A coach draws out hidden potential in a subject. A conduit provides a connection, and a catalyst sparks change. And I am here today with John Ross Dike first. And he is an actor, he's a podcaster, he's a videographer. He has a lot of little irons in the fire. He creates merch, stillvisionary.com, What's Next podcast. So he does lots of stuff. And we are here to talk about control. And we actually happen to be Virgos.
Right.
So I know everybody out there in the audience is saying Virgos talking about control.
Right.
It's about time. Oh my gosh. Virgos have this reputation for being control freaks.
Right.
I think I'm not a control freak at all. You know, one of the guys I dated said I was, that was why we didn't work. I didn't think I was at all. I just thought I had certain standards and expectations. And, and I thought they were very reasonable.
Right.
You know, but they say Virgos are very detail oriented, that we like things our way, that we are very organized. I don't know if you look at my desk and say I'm very organized, but they say all these things about us. You know, for me, I think control has two sides, and I'm going to get your take on this. I think there is that idea of self-control, which everybody needs, and we all need to really have control of our emotions, our lives, you know, be directed, self-directed. And then I think there's that control of trying to control everybody else and everything. And that's where things can kind of get out of hand, because sometimes you try to control too much and you can't control it, and it drives you crazy.
Right.
Or you try to control people and you can't control them, and that drives you crazy. And so I think for me, I have had to learn to let some things go and flow with some things and allow a lot of things, and to not want things to be perfect, to just want things to be good enough, you know. So when I say control, what comes up to you? What comes to mind? You picked this topic.
Yes, I did.
So what did you want to talk about with control?
I think it's the essence of who I am as an artist. I think that I am who I am today because I took control of, some would say, my own fate, my own destiny. And I'm seeing that, I'm seeing that it takes a lot, but I feel at ease with being able to control, specifically speaking about control, being able to control what interests me and what I feel will better me off as an artist, as a creative. And so, control is everything to me. I gotta have it. And it derives from being rejected in projects, having the turnaround time of, a production of a T-shirt take too long, pain, cutting out the middleman. So everything that I do now I have to have some kind of say. I have to have my hand on it. Otherwise I feel like, people are taking advantage of me.
I can understand that, because as an artist, everything we do represents us, and it represents our image. And so in that aspect, I have to have control of some things. Like if I draw out a design or I have a certain design, it may take 3 or 4 takes for me to feel like, oh, that's what I want. That gives me the feeling, that represents the image, that represents me. You know what I'm saying? And some people would be like, well, why wasn't the first take good enough? Because it wasn't right.
Right.
It wasn't right for me. It might have been right for somebody else, but not for me. So, I think that's how some people can say that we are demanding. We are, when I say we, I mean Virgos, demanding and perfectionists. We're called perfectionists in a sense. So I can see that wanting to have control over, as you said, your destiny, wanting to have control over what represents you, wanting to have control over if you're spending your money with somebody that they're giving you exactly what you expect or as close
Right.
to what you expect as you feel comfortable with.
Right.
Yeah, I could resonate with all of that.
I think that for me, control comes all the way back to being fed that you can change the outcome of somebody's um, approach in life, their destiny, by a single project. And initially, when I was fed that, I'm not a skeptical person, and I'm not a pessimist. So I always look at it from the glass half full. And so being told that, you don't believe it at first. This is the pessimistic side of me. I don't believe it at first, but then when you start to buy in, you expect it. And you go out to these shows. You speak about shows all the time. You go out and you do a live performance, and it takes everything out of you. You rehearse for months and months and months for one night, and you're expecting that when you get done with the product, somebody's gonna approach you and say, "Hey, you know what? I want to see you in this. I like the way you did that. Are you signed anywhere? Who's your agency? Who's representing you? Can you help me with this?" And it didn't occur to me. It didn't happen that way for me. So I said to myself, nah, there's something they're not telling me. All the while, there was no exposure. There was no exposure in what I was doing at the time. And I've always been a type as an independent artist that I had to kind of go out and market it myself. I had to produce it some way, because in Houston, Texas, as an actor, we don't have a lot of opportunities out here. So when you hear that one radio ad on radio, you see people that you never thought would be there. People that you're saying, "Hey, I'm doing a show." They've never done a show before, but this ad says taking anybody, and you see that person there. And so I'm thinking to myself during this time, how do I go about getting this feeling again in my own aspect, the only way that I know how to do it? And so we venture out, contract this guy to film for us, and all the while, for me, it's always been in the back of my mind, you can do it yourself. But you need sort of like a guide. You need somebody to kind of show you the equipment that they use, show you the positions that they're taking, because in the beginning it's just a part of your imagination, but you never really know how to make it come to fruition because you've never done it before. Right? I'm not an actor because my father was an actor, my mother was an actor. I'm an actor because my lodge kind of put me up on that platform, and one opportunity led to another one. And so I'm watching all the time, and it took them hours and emails and days to get back. And I said, man, this turnaround time it's not what I want it to be. So, Control, then the ensemble, Control, they just cut you out. I hate being cut out of things. I hate being cut out of things, and I hate not being able to get that feeling again as frequently as I want it.
Speaking of, Control as an artist, I remember the first time that I was going to perform at the Improv, and they said, you have 3 minutes and 33 seconds. Whoo, really? Yeah, and if you go beyond that, they could, cut the mic. Okay. And you're practicing and you're like, okay, this has got to be this amount of time, and I got to cut these words, and I got to make sure I don't stress this one too long, and it's like, and performing at the Improv is amazing. It's wonderful. It was like 500 people in the audience when I did it, but I remember thinking, it was a Fathers Are Not Disposable poem that I performed there. And favorite. That poem would have been longer had it not had to be 3 minutes and 33 seconds, And I remember that. I was like, okay. I've never had that strict of a guideline. And it was very interesting because as an artist, it's like you want to go, or at least as a poet, you want to go until the piece is done. You know what I mean? No matter if it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds or 4 minutes and 20 seconds, however long it takes to get it done. And to have somebody stipulate a specific time, it was like, I got to create something with this deadline or this stipulation in my head. So that was a very interesting thing. And then just, I remember I was going to perform at Martini Blue. I was going to do a show there. I was really excited. It's a beautiful venue. I love the audience, love the crowd. And then the promoter said, you can't talk about race. You can't have anything too black. You can't have anything that's too erotic. You can't have anything that's political. You can't. And by the time he finished, I was almost like, what the hell are we going to talk about? And I remember coming to my artists that were excited to be on the show and saying, we can't curse. We can't. And eventually they're like, does he know that we're artists? I mean, does he even understand that we're actually creatives?
Right.
And I remember having to go back and say, as much as I want to do this, I have a lot of artists that are not going to perform.
Right.
And, we were trying to come up with a completely clean show. And eventually at the end, it didn't work. It just didn't work. And I've never, as much as I have wanted to go back in a sense that I can perform clean, to create a show where you have just these absolute parameters and you have no creative freedom, so that's the dark side of control. As a creative, we want to have control over our art. We want to have control of our artistic expression. And that may mean being political. That may mean saying that, X is wrong. I got this shirt, poetic justice, spit truth. We want to be able to spit the truth, especially as poets, to speak truth to power and to have somebody say, you can't. It's like cutting the legs off from us, and it was very difficult to want to move forward. And I was thinking about another opportunity came. People kept coming to me and saying, you have a podcast that you just started. They're running this contest. And the contest said the same thing. We want your top 5 episodes. If we like them, we'll syndicate you. We'll give you X amount of dollars. You'll get ads and sponsorships. But you can't talk about religion. You can't talk about politics. You can't have anything erotic. You can't. And eventually I was like, I don't care how much money they're offering. I don't care they're offering sponsorship. I don't care that they're doing any of this, because I don't want to, for the whole time I'm dealing with them, have to avoid 10 topics.
Right.
No matter how much that deals with people's life. And when I come on to a podcast, I want the audience to feel like we're being real. And I want it to be conversational between me and the guest. So I want them to say whatever they feel the need to say, and not for me to have to say before the show, where you can't talk about politics and you can't talk about race and you can't talk about religion and you can't curse. You can't. I'm like, because I would feel stifled going on somebody's show and having this whole list of stuff I couldn't say. And I'd be sitting there thinking, what did they say I couldn't say? What? So yeah. So there's a bad side of control.
Right. I just don't like, so I'm brought up on this whole idea that consistency is key. And, so I've been doing production for a while, and, I sold the idea to my man. We went to middle school together, and I sold him the idea like, hey, we could be the Matt and Ben of Boston and Houston. We could write something that kind of revitalizes Houston film. And granted, times are different. Locale is different. Things are just so much closer on the East Coast. But we got it. We started writing a project, and I realized that we would drop an episode here. And the first episode we dropped, we waited about 8 months promoting it, 8 months, and we dropped it in the last quarter of the year, because we used to say, hey, the fourth quarter is our quarter. We dropped it in the last quarter of the year, and the first month it did 1,000 views on YouTube. And then going to episode number 2, it just took so long. And we were recorded, and I remember specifically saying to the guy that was recording the the web series we called it at the time. I said to him, "Hey man, if you could do the editing," and I come to understand now that sometimes when you're rendering that service, you don't know what the client is thinking. Are they going to try to cut me out? Because I've had the same thoughts now that I do what I do, right? But I said to him, "Hey man, you know what? We kind of want this. We kind of want to be able to have one or two edits, not factoring in color, audio, not factoring in scenes, none of that. I was just I'm a novice. My man, on the other hand, he's acted for a while, but it was my whole idea to let's just try to do this so that I could fulfill a passion, fulfill a dream that I recently had, and you could continue doing your acting thing like that." So I told him, "Hey man, you know what? We don't want to have a million emails." First email thread we had was 48 messages.
Wow.
I said I called my man on, and we used to spend a lot of time on the phone. I said, "Man, it's up to 50 messages and we don't have a final product yet." So we end up letting that guy go. We find another guy. And I realized sometimes the dark side of control for me is that I end up messing up a lot of relationships. This is something I had to come to grips with myself. And I had to go back later on in that journey. I had to say to a lot of people, I'm sorry, because all I wanted to do was just continue to drop because I know I have the gear to kind of promote myself. At the time, I didn't know that was my purpose. It wasn't until I actually started dealing with you, talking to you, that I actually, when people say they found their purpose, I frowned at it. I was like, what are you talking about? I don't know what that means. And I really figured that out last year dealing with you. But at the time, I was telling the girl, I was like, "Hey, I'm sorry. I apologize. It's just that I felt that you were messing with all I had. This is not, I don't have a lot of time with this. I'm on borrowed time. I'm already in my 30s, and most people that are going to make it to the silver screen, they've done it all their lives. You look at people like Denzel and Sam Jackson, you look at their old films, they're dating back. They made a career out of it. 20, 25 years in film. And here I am at 26 and I'm getting my first go. Never did theater in school. Always did poetry, but never did theater in school. And when I get bit by that bug, that's all I want to do is be able to have that feeling again, be in that scene again, because it's magic watching yourself on TV. The thing that you would do with other people. How many films I've watched of Denzel, mimic Denzel, cried in the movies, Will Smith's movies, cried in those movies, and to see myself in a scene break a tear, or see somebody that I know in a scene break a tear, it just was magical to me. I wanted to be there again. But, left up to other people, you're just another dollar.
Wow, yeah. I resonate with that. Sometimes people ask me, like, how do you do what you do? And I say, okay, I sleep 4 to 5 hours a night, because I have to get a lot of stuff done during a day. And why do you do that? Because there's so much I want to get done. Because like you were saying, like, I had this idea of perfect self-expression, meaning everything that's in me, everything up here, everything in my gut, I want it all out on the page. I want it all out on the stage. I want it all out in the world. I want it all out there. I want to die empty. And whenever I start putting out stuff, more stuff comes and more stuff comes and more stuff comes. So it's like I'm constantly just and trying to keep up with, one of my college roommate, Haviland May, she said, your mind must be a whirlwind. I was like, yeah, it is sometimes. Sometimes I have to download my brain at night just to go to sleep. I just have to, okay, I can go to sleep now. So that idea of control, when it comes to me, I decided right now, people say, why are you single? You seem like a great person, whatever. I don't want anybody taking up too much of my time. I don't want anybody taking up too much of my energy. I have this amount of energy, this amount of free time, and I'm willing to give you that. You want any more than that? This is, and I'm very, very honest about that. I have a lot of love to give. I'm a very loving person, very generous person, but my priority is my art. My priority is my business. My priority is my family. After that, a relationship. And I understand for a lot of people that is not anywhere on their agenda of things to do. Right. So when people say, when the guy that I was dating said you're controlling, I would say I'm not controlling. I'm focused. I'm focused on these are my priorities. You know what I'm saying? And I realized that as a creative, art is in a sense the reason I live. If you took away my art, if you took away my ability to create, I don't know if I would be able to function. I don't even know if I would be able to deal with the world. I don't even know how people do it without poetry, comedy, music, dance, without creating something. I don't know how normal people do it. So I don't relate to normal people in a sense. I relate as we're all human beings. We're all dealing with the same world. But in a sense, I don't relate to how do you cope? And some people say, well, they drink, they smoke. That's how they cope. Okay, I don't drink and smoke, so maybe that's how we have a difference. I do drink once or twice a month when I go out with people, but that's not like I drink 1 or 2 drinks and I'm done. I don't need to get high or buzz and never been drunk, so control, I think that for me, self-control, I work on that sometimes because I can go overboard on some things. Right. And be obsessive on some things. But then also like control of my time, control of my energy, that's like super precious to me, and I'm willing to make sacrifices of certain things at this time because I've done the marriage thing twice. I'm poured my heart and soul into a marriage. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to leave everything behind and just be family. I know that. I've done that. You know what I mean? But now it's my time, So, I think that when you're talking about feeling like you have a limited amount of time, I say to myself, I got 50 years. I'm going to die when I'm 100. I got a lot to get done. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Before I'm like too old and tired to, So what else do you want to say about control? What else was going through your mind when you picked this topic,
Oh man, it's just when it comes to my artistic journey, you mentioned not being able to cope if you weren't a creative. And I don't know if my wife knows this, but when we were looking at houses, we didn't really do the whole thought out process, meaning we didn't see 10 houses and see what we liked in those 10 houses. We saw maybe about 3-4 houses. And the 4th house we saw, I was sitting by the island and I was looking at the open space is what they call it. Like it's an open whatever. And I said, man, I could shoot a film here. And so when it comes down to being a creative, every job that I partake in or I do, it always comes back to, hey, I could shoot a film or I could do that. And when you think about shooting films or diving into these extracurricular activities, it takes a lot of money. A lot of people don't know that, haven't fathomed that, they think it looks really easy. But it takes a lot of money to produce a quality 30-minute, 15-minute, 10-minute film, whatever. It takes a lot of money. And if you're one of those creatives or artists that, you get the traditional upbringing, you might start in like child theater, do plays in the church, go to school, do theater in the school. And then you might go to school for it and say, okay, well, I want to get my MFA in it and I want to go big time. Or you might just audition for an agency and get and book something, and then now they're representing you and they do whatever. But for the average artist, for myself, That didn't happen for me. So as an artist, you got to think, or I think, if I can't do a regular job without thinking about art. Even as a coach, the film Coach Carter with Sam Jackson, I said, man, I could play that. I mean, I've coached basketball, I've coached softball, I've coached volleyball. I could put on a suit and do that. But if you don't have that traditional bringing and you're an independent artist like myself, you have to be able to, one, learn the stuff, and then two, be able to reproduce it in some form. Otherwise, you're left auditioning in a place that doesn't have auditions. And so, that's really how I've been able to be sane as a creative. Because for me, the podcasting thing wasn't originally my initial thought process. When I caught wind of podcasts, I don't think it was many podcasts in Houston. So as a way to say, you know what, we're kind of slow right now. Writing this project like I said, it takes a long time to produce something. If you want to, we produced about a 15-minute show, but that's all people saw. I wrote in a car. I was driving a Mitsubishi Lancer at the time. I wrote in a car delivering pizzas, and I would get off the horn with my man. I would say, let me write this scene. I wrote the scene, and then he wrote his scene, and we merged it together, came up with a backstory of how we were friends, because we were friends from middle school. And then we put it together, and it came out to be about 10 to 15 pages. And that was I think it was season 1 and 2, right? So then when you go to film, you can add in so much. You can add in B-roll. You can add in this clip, that clip. So it doesn't necessarily have to be on the page. You can kind of make up what you're missing to kind of fill out the project or the film or short film or whatever. But people don't see that it took us close to a year to write, come up with a topic, to come up with a theme. And if I was one of those artists that said, hey, I want to be an actor, where do I go? I'd still be, if not, I'd be a little further in my career now, but I would still be looking at Actors Access or trying to go to local agencies and say, hey, I want to act. I want to be an actor. What do I do first? I'd still be there. I wouldn't have gotten anything accomplished. Now, when I put out my reel the other day on IG, 250 views, people saying it's fire. And I've been trying to tell people, I do this. I've been doing this for a while.
It was fire. It was fire.
I do it for a while, but like I said in my podcast when I talked about it, all of those scenes in that film, in that reel rather, are independently produced. I wrote, well, 2 of the scenes were from my web series. Another scene was from a project me and my man did, and the other 2 Jayla did. She wrote, and then I was a part of that, and I was like, hey, I need that for my reel. None of those projects were major projects that garnered me this large amount of money. If not for that, or my control in being able to write when I want to write and produce when I want to produce and, do all of those type of things, I'd be an actor with no reel. I'd have no proof that I am who I say I am. And so that, and just, I come from a background of hip hop raised me. Mm-hmm. So like we've said before, when I listen to rap and I've watched how it has transformed over the years, and I've seen rappers take an ideal, put it on shirts, you kind of get to the point where I want to do that too. Mm-hmm. I've got an idea. I want to do that too. And it comes out of being the next avenue to make money. That too became an issue of control for me. How do I produce 1,000 shirts? And even if I want to give 1,000 shirts out, how do I do that at a frequency that is affordable and also is not, it doesn't take a long time to produce? Mm-hmm. And, when I brought the idea up to my man, one thing about control is you have to be willing to spend money to do what you want to do. Yeah. That's what I found out. Yeah. You have to be willing to spend money to do what you want to do, because if not, the money you spend having somebody produce it for you is a lot more than you would, because you spend everything up front and then you figure out a way to, on the back end, pay and get what you spend back. But producing T-shirts in the beginning, I want to sell you a T-shirt, but I don't have 2 to rub for myself. And so along the time period of being in the production company Visionary Movements LLC, I want to produce this T-shirt because 2 or 3 people have inquired about it. Sort of like how you told me your story about your shirts. And so I run to my T-shirt man. And I'm like, hey man, how much you gonna charge me for these shirts? He's like, I do 10 a pop. Well, the shirt costs about $3-4. He's charged me for his time and all of that, and I get it. But then he up and disappears one day. He up and disappears, and I don't know how to. At the time, I didn't know how to do it. I was like, I see him doing it, but I don't know, because I saw him cut the vinyl, put the vinyl on the shirt, press it, but I didn't see the program he used to be able to invert the vinyl, to invert the logo, to be able to print it and all of that. Being an educator saved my life. That is where I was able to almost redefine my trajectory. Without it, I wouldn't have been who I am today, without just having the control and taking it in my own hands to be able to produce what I want to produce.
Yeah, I've had a similar experience with somebody disappearing on me. I also had an experience where I created some designs and they digitized them for me,
right?
And then didn't want to give me the files,
right?
Because they wanted to
control
be the
you.
only one that I could have it from. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take what I've got and take it to somebody else and see if they can pull, make it transparent for me. I've learned how to do transparencies now. At the time, I didn't know how to do that,
right?
Because there's programs now that will help you do transparencies.
Right.
But I've learned a lot with people trying to control my use of my ideas.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's my idea, but you want to control it. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. And I understand you put time and effort into putting it digitally and putting things together, but still, it was my idea. It was my design. And I paid you for your time. So yeah, that thing too. But speaking of like recreating yourself, and as an artist, deciding where you want to go and what you want to do, I was a page poet for most of my life. I've only been a stage poet, a spoken word artist for 4 years. I've been writing since I was in elementary. I remember talking to my mom and I was like, I don't even see myself as a spoken word artist. And she was like, it's your writing. You can memorize other people's stuff. Why wouldn't you be able to do yours? And to be able to present yourself the way you want to present yourself, to be able to really give people the feeling behind your words by presenting it dramatically, that is a form of control too, because of course I want people to read what I've written, but there is a control aspect of, let me let you feel what I'm feeling. Let me let you see my face. Let me let you see my body movement. I want you to go on this journey with me. That controlling your artistry is that way is a beautiful thing, and just really giving yourself over to it. I say that sometimes art controls you. Sometimes, like I say, sometimes I can't go to sleep. Sometimes I get awakened in the middle of the night and I go pee and I'm like, oh, I got this idea. I gotta write it down before it goes somewhere. So that's happened to me before. Ideas coming to me in the middle of the night, ideas coming to me in a dream, waking me up, and I've sat down and wrote it out, or just knowing that I have this idea. If I don't do something with it, I'm gonna regret it, and feeling like, in a sense, I don't have a choice. I have to do this. I remember Les Brown said something about, it would be horrible if you were on your deathbed and all of your ideas and visions came to you and said, we came to you to give us life and we're going to die with you.
Right.
That whole idea of you control the expression of your art, but also you owe something to the creator that gave you all these ideas and all of this talent, to express it. And also I think of, a lot of times I speak of ancestors. I think of our ancestors and how little control they had of so many things. And still they chose to braid people's hair in certain ways to show the map of escape, or to sing a spiritual that was really a map of escape.
Right.
They still found a way to control their destiny through art, through the braids and through the songs and I'm thinking, even in slavery, we still wanted to control our destiny. We still wanted to use that creative spark to just make our lives better, and I owe it to them, all the people that are in my blood flowing through my veins right now who couldn't do everything that they wanted to do. I owe it to them to try my best to give, rise and give voice to whatever's going through, because sometimes I wonder, I don't even know if everything that comes to me is actually me. Is it somebody in here? You know what I'm saying? Some ancestor trying to speak through me, because I believe they say DNA carries memories, They say people who get organ transplants have cravings and memories and stuff like that. I don't know if that lasts after death or whatever, but it sometimes I get these ideas and I'm like, where did that come from? Where did that don't even sound like me. I don't know if it's God, I don't know if it's ancestors. That's a great idea though. I should do that.
Right.
So I just feel like when you have this life and you have this time and you have this ability to give expression to it and to push that, is powerful, and having that artistic control, of what you put out is also powerful.
Right. There's
what
a
else
downside.
Is on your mind?
There's a downside to it. I mean, you realize the more you control the less amount of things you know. You always find it like you're always having to learn something. Like I had to ask a question to a guy today in church because I'm not a great reader. I'm a doer. I'm a trial and error guy. I watch, I learn, and then I find somebody that can put me in a lane that can help me with that. Because the whole podcasting thing, my homeboy said to me, listen, when you're ready to level up, then we can talk. I didn't know what that meant at the time. It was people talking to you. Sometimes it goes over my head. I'm like, I hear you talking. Oh, okay, I got you. But then when I said to him, hey, man, I said to him, and it's an idea that I got from the church. The church, everything has changed over the past decade. When you think about church, you think about four walls, it's stationary, you dress a certain way, you go there on Sundays, Sunday school, you're raised in the church. But it was my homegirl one time a couple of years ago when I started my company that said, hey, I think that you and Mario would do well at this church. And it was a mobile church. So I'm thinking, why do I connect with this pastor so much? I've never spoken to him before. He doesn't know my name. I don't know him from Jack. But the way he approaches spitting the word is almost the way that I want to approach reaching kids in the classroom. Sporadic, youthful, knowledgeable, not too strict, but I'm kind of like, when I'm talking to you, I know what I'm saying. And I apply the same principle. The mobile aspect of podcasting, for me, changed my life. I'm married. I've been married for about, this will make year 4. But throughout this whole independency journey of mine, I did it in a relationship. And it's always been taxing on the relationship. The money you're spending chasing a dream, you could put into your relationship, because you never get two creatives in a marriage. It's just a dream come true. If we could sit here and say, hey, let's write this, and we're both all in on that. You get one person that's the A type person. Hey, I've got a job, and this job does this, and this, and in 5 years, this job will provide this. And then you have the person like myself and yourself who is like, I have a dream, and this dream I see getting here, but it's only going to get here if I start. I can't wait to start. Yeah. And it's just, things have changed, but you'll learn. But if you're not paying attention, then I can't. It doesn't discourage me to say, hey, you know what, they're not paying attention. I find genuine happiness in producing my own stuff. And that's why my catch line is I do what I do for myself to prove that I can do it for others. Yeah. Because it's just my life.
I gotcha. You know, you brought up two things that I want to talk about with control. You know, I was raised Catholic and went to Catholic school till 8th grade. And I had a lot of questions. I had a lot of questions. I'm a thinker. I got in trouble with the nuns. You know what I'm saying? Got in trouble with the priests. I got in trouble. Control. You know, there was a part of me that said, what you're saying doesn't make sense.
Right.
What you're saying, it just doesn't make sense. It's just not logical. God is mysterious. He works in mysterious ways. Okay. That's true. But still, you know, and eventually I decided this religion, not just Catholicism, but religion period, is a method to control people, keep them in a box. I don't like boxes. I don't like boxes. And so I'm ready to get outside the box. I'm ready to go back to something before the box. And that's how I ended up going and researching the Kemetic, you know, faith and all kind of stuff and just a bunch of different things because I don't like boxes. I don't like control in that sense. Two people are too different. And to me, if something's not true everywhere, all the time, it's not true. You know what I'm saying? So if I can't go to Europe, Africa, China, same thing is true, it's not true. So I started to really adopt the universal laws. Like, for example, sowing and reaping is a universal law. It doesn't matter where you go in the world, doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter how young you are, doesn't matter if you're black, white, green, purple. If you sow something, you're going to reap that thing, right? You sow an apple seed, you're going to reap an apple tree given that it has the ability to produce, it has the things it needs to produce. You don't sow an apple tree and get a pear tree. I mean, apple seed and get a pear tree. You know, I can't talk right now, but the law of sowing and reaping, that is a universal law, right? The law of giving and receiving, universal law. The law of, they call that the law of reciprocity. So I went into the universal laws because as much as there's a controlling side of Virgos, there's also this very intuitive side. And for me, the intuitive side is probably just as strong. And my intuition says that things have to make sense and things have to be universal. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, I definitely live my life by universal laws, universal principles, and that has given me so much peace. And then going with relationships as a woman, I found that men and patriarchy and tradition had a lot of control. And I already mentioned that I've done the wife thing twice. You know what I mean? I've done the pour everything into your marriage and you're going to be happy and fulfilled and it's going to bring you everything. And I'm like, I did it and it didn't work. Pray and fast and God is going to take care of your marriage and everything's going to fall into place. I did that. It didn't work. You know, so then I said, you know what? I can't look to a man or a marriage or a church, you know, to make me happy. I have to find happiness myself. I have to follow my dreams. I have to follow my goals. I have to become everything I can be, you know, and I remember I was going through therapy when my mom was sick and she was dying. And I remember telling my therapist, I was like, you know, I have decided that whatever is in me, I want it to come out. And if any man ever says to me, I want you to be the person that you were when we met, I'm going to be like, we're not on the same trajectory. My goal is to evolve and grow. And wherever I end up in 5 years is if wherever I end up in 5 years. I don't know where that's going to be. I can't even tell you where that's going to be right now. If you're not in it for the journey, if you expect me to be the same person 5 years from now, some things are going to be core. I'm going to be a generous person. I'm going to be a loving person. I'm going to be a loyal person. Those things are core, but personality traits and goals and lifestyle things that may change. You know what I mean? So I decided that I can't let anything, children, job, relationship, control my potential.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I decided, and even religion, people will say, well, you shouldn't want to know about certain things that might lead you down the wrong path. And I think, the romanticism was way back in the 1800s, and they were already talking about march to be to your own drummer. You mean it's 2021 and you want me to just not ask questions? Because, no. So, I have found that I had to seize control, in a sense, of myself, my destiny, and even the definitions placed on myself. I don't care what you think a woman should be. I don't care what you think a lady should be. I don't care what you think a mother should be, a wife should be, whatever. If I decide to be in that role of a wife, he and I are going to have to work some things out. We're going to have to, what do you really need me to do? Right. And let me see if I can do that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I've already gone through what I felt was a traditional role, and that didn't work out too well for me.
Right.
16 years of marriage, I'm divorced, 6 years, you know what I'm saying? So I have decided that certain things aren't going to control me. Society's expectations are not going to control me. Tradition is not going to control me. Religion is not going to control me. Gender roles, all that stuff. It's not going to control me. I have a choice, and I'm going to take that choice and explore life.
Right.
Right.
I think that the term "I have a choice" or the saying "I have a choice" is very key, because we do have a choice. I remember it's a couple of things. Like, I think spirituality is a choice. I choose to believe in Jesus Christ. One, because I don't know nothing else. But two, I've lived on that I thought about Islam once. Mm-hmm. And I was like, nah, I just, to be completely honest, my wife is a devout Christian. And I didn't grow up super spiritual. We went to church in Third Ward whenever my mom was off. But my wife grew up in the church, and I wanted to be with her. So if she, and this is where I give up control, if she was a devout Christian, then I'm going to be a devout Christian because I want to be next to her. But, things that, and for me, I have lived an okay life. I fought coming up. I went to school across town. I didn't see my share of trauma. But, when my son passed and my father was telling me, don't question God, I almost wanted to say to my father, I almost wanted to disrespect my father for that. You know what I'm saying? You're not here. And I understand, sometimes you can play like what somebody's going through, just as empathy or being sympathetic to their situation. But if you're not, this is something my man told me, if you're not in it, you have no idea. So, I chose then, like my father said, don't turn your back on God, because I had some questions myself, like, why us? Some really crazy things in my mind, like, I'm finna do this, and I'm finna go up to the hospital, and I'm really finna John Q this thing. I'm a John Q it. So, and two, sometimes for me, I'm a very simple person. When people get to talking and they've been enlightened, I kind of like, I can't follow, because I haven't researched like people have researched. And some of me doesn't want to research. I want a simple life. Faith is, for me, I found that faith is just choosing to believe. Mm-hmm. And I parallel my faith into what I do as an artist. I believe, mm-hmm. and it will transform into something else. Mm-hmm. Right. So, when people spew what they spew, because they've overread, or they're trying to sound as strong in what they believe in so that you can't shake them. Yeah, sometimes those conversations kind of like, I hear you. Yeah, my response is cut short. Yeah, right. And then you look down at your phone and you get distracted.
For me, the interesting thing about moving away from the church is I've found that in my experience, Christians have the desire to proselytize, to convert,
I
to
don't know
get
what
everybody.
What does that word mean?
That means you need to believe in Jesus. You're going
okay.
to hell
Gotcha.
if you don't believe in Jesus.
Gotcha.
I don't have any desire to convert anybody to anything about anything. My goal is for each person to become everything they can be. If that means you believe in Jesus, fine. If you believe in Buddha, fine. If you believe in Confucius, fine. If you believe in, I don't even know what else is out there, universal laws like I do, fine. I could care less. It has nothing to do with me. I want every person to seize control of his or her life,
right,
and to find the truth that resonates with that person. Because to me, as again I said, if it's true, it's true, it's true, it's true. It's true universally, it's true. In the Bible, I'll quote the Bible lots of times. You'll hear me quote the Bible on my podcast because
right,
there's truth in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also some stuff that I think some people stuck in there, because it doesn't resonate as true. But I definitely embrace the truth in the Bible, absolutely 100%, without reservation. So, for me, control, right? There came a point in my life after I got divorced, when I hit my 40s, when I was like, I've lived my life the way I was told to live my life. I've been a good little girl. I've been a good little Christian, been a good little wife. I've been this. Now I'm putting aside all of that. And now I'm saying, this is my life. And I only have one life to live. And I am going to search for things that resonate with me. If it resonates with me, if it makes me a better person, a better wife, better mother, better friend, better whatever, teacher, then I'm going to adopt it. If it doesn't, I'm going to chunk it. And I'm going to keep moving through my life, cleaning out my mental closets until every single thing in me, head, heart, body, until it all is absolutely true for me, is absolutely positive and beneficial for me. And whatever gets chunked along the way, I don't care. If it's tradition, if it's something my grandmother taught me, my mother, my father, I don't care, because it doesn't work. And at the end of the day, to me, all that matters is, does it work? Does it produce the benefit that I need in my life? If it doesn't produce, then I don't need it. You know what I'm saying? And that is the standard, as they say, the litmus test that I have decided when it came to controlling myself. It either works or it doesn't. It either produces or it doesn't. It's that simple. You talk about being a simple man. It's that simple. And going to church, for me, it didn't produce. I have grown more in the last 4 years since I stopped going to church than I ever grew in the time from 15 to, 46? In 31 years of being in a building, I've grown more in the last 4 years. It didn't produce for me. It may produce for somebody else.
Right.
Didn't produce for me. All right. Don't need it. All right. Now I've gone a lot. I've been to seminars. I've been to conferences. I've been through initiation. I've been through a lot of things in the last 4 years. That produced for me. Okay. And I'm still doing, things, reading books and meeting people and journaling and meditation, all this stuff, creating the Zennurgy Your Life workbook. That stuff produced for me. So for me, control is key, because when you decide you have the right to take control of your life at whatever age you are and live your life according to the principles that make sense to you, that's a powerful moment. And realize that you're going to die one day. And as I said, and I will say it again, when I die, when I lay down on that deathbed and my sons and my grandkids are all around that deathbed, I want to look at every one of them and say, smile babies, because I did everything.
Right.
I got a legacy.
Right.
I got you guys, and I got all of this that I produced, and there's nothing else I wanted to do. I did it all.
Right.
I did everything that was in my heart. I gave to people. I loved on people. I told people the truth. I showed them how grateful I was. I did it all. That's what I want. When I lay down on that deathbed, that's control to me. Control of my destiny, knowing that when I lay down on that deathbed, there is nothing I left undone, nothing I left unsaid. It's all been done. It's all been said. I did the best that I could. I wasn't perfect, but I definitely did the best that I could.
Right.
And that's what I want. And that was when I got divorced at 6 years ago, and I realized that besides my wonderful children that I had and my degrees and my job that I had awards on, there wasn't a whole lot that I was proud of. Because everything else I did for everybody else. I didn't do it for me. I wasn't proud of it. Other people would look at my life and say, "Oh, she's done." And I was looking at my life and saying, this is crap. I could have done more. I should have done more. I done wasted 43 years of my life. Besides my children, besides the students I impacted, besides that, I got nothing to show. And when I looked at my life like that, I was like, this is freaking pathetic. Get your shit together. You know?
Right.
And that was a whole different mindset for me. I was like, from that point on to this point, it's like every single day I'm producing. Every single day I'm producing. I don't have time. Because I wasted 43 years of my life. Well, I won't say I wasted. You know, I that's harsh. I did not properly use the time that I had for the gifts that I was given.
Right.
You know. So.
Yeah, life is short, man. It is short. I've come to find that out. It's short. Yeah. You don't live forever, so you need to control what you can control and let the rest go. Yeah. Yeah. That I have found out is true. There's people hurting right now, literally, because they can't control the outcome that they've been given. Yeah. And so, I don't get that deep. I don't. I'm just, I don't. I don't get that deep. I've heard people say they have to download their minds. Listen, when I lay down, I don't lay down until I absolutely have to, because I know that when I crash, it's over. You can't call me and get me. I will crash and the building will be burning, and it'll be by the grace of God that I wake up, because if I go to sleep, I'm done until my body wakes me up. So I just pray that it's no electrical fire where I am, because I'm probably not going to make it. But by then, I hope that I've served my purpose.
Gotcha. Well, I think we have covered a lot, talked about a whole lot of different things, and I have enjoyed this conversation. Is there anything else you want to say about control before we kind of wrap this up?
It'll probably hit me when I'm on the way home, but it's just who I am. I don't know how to be anything else. I don't know where I'd be if I didn't, say or have the idea of maybe I can do that myself. I don't know where I'd be. So, I'm grateful for my journey, and, I just continue to take on whatever it brings, so. I probably have a lot more to say when I get home, but right now I'm just like, I am. You're always a light when you speak. So I'm just appreciative of the opportunity.
Well, I'm glad that you came on, and it was very interesting to sit down with a Virgo and talk about control. I know people out in Facebook, and well, we're not doing a lot. People out when this goes on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, they're gonna be like, two Virgos talking about control. Oh my gosh, you see how passionate they are talking about control. See, I told you them Virgos was controlling.
Yeah,
I told you.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to come to the end of the podcast. I do have some merch that you guys can see on the video. I have some different shirt designs. This is actually only like 5 of the shirt designs I have. I actually have 14 different designs on my Teespring website, which is laughsandlyricsmerch.com. I have some new inspirational bookmarks that are $1 each. They are so cute. You know, they have all kind of sayings on them, and you open them up, you know, like this, to put them on, you know, your page. So you can get those for $1 each. I have my Zennurgy Your Life goal setting package, which is 15. You see how it's nice and compact. Comes in a little resealable bag. So this has 16 different pages of concepts, journal prompts, meditations, places where you can put pictures of people who inspire you. You can write down books, song titles, movie titles, you know, all kind of things. This comes with a journal, stickers, comes with a bookmark, and there's actually tabs in here so you can tab the journal. So I'll show you guys my first page that I did. I did a Facebook Live on this the other day. You can see my first page that I did on abundance, you know, so it's filled in, and you got Langston Hughes there and Oprah Winfrey that symbolize abundance to me. And I tabbed my journal, you know, wrote in my journal on abundance and wrote about Langston Hughes and Oprah Winfrey. So this was all the stuff that I wrote on that first. And I went and tabbed the second. This is access. I left a couple of pages for more writing on abundance. And so I wrote all of this about access, which is the second topic. So I actually do live what I, talk about. This is my life, and I'm sharing with people kind of how I just talked to you guys, and I was very open and honest about the fact that I feel like I spent the first 43 years of my life living for other people. And people say, how did you get to here where you have such a self-actualized life? I got to here through actually deciding what was really important to me and boiling that down to very specific principles that I wanted to live my life on. And some of it's universal laws, and some of it's these words that you see in this Zennurgy Your Life workbook. So you want to get more self-actualization? I can show you how. $15, and you can build a life that really is the life of your dreams, the life of your goals, a life that makes you feel alive, And it's interesting that we would say, I feel alive, because some people don't feel alive. Some people feel like they're just walking through life, sleeping through life, existing. And I have been that person. I know what that feels like, to feel like, oh, God, I woke up again. I got to go to work again. I got to deal with this stuff again. And there's nothing that you're looking forward to, because you just know it's going to keep being the same thing week in, week out, day in, day out. That's a horrible way to live, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can actually take control of your life, and you can actually change it no matter where you are, how old you are, what gender you are, what race you are, what religion you are. You can actually control your life and make it something better. And that's what Zennurgy is all about. It really is all about. That's like the whole idea behind Zennurgy, is that urge for more fulfillment. And how do you get there? 1 week at a time, one tool at a time, putting it into place and moving forward. It's incremental. It doesn't happen overnight. I'm not saying it happens overnight. It's 1 week at a time, one day at a time, one tool at a time, and you build a completely different life. And so I'm here to help you. John Ross is here to work with creatives too, talking about his creative journey. So check him out. Tell them again where they can find you.
My social media handles, John Ross Dike on Instagram, Twitter, and still _visionary Instagram and Twitter, and the What's Next Pod _ on IG, and stillvisionary.com. Facebook, John Ross Dike the first. So.
Awesome. So I hope you enjoyed our conversations. I am Zennurgy. You can find me on Instagram, Zennurgy Poetry, Zennurgy, Zennurgy. Zennurgy is on all podcast streaming platforms. You can find me on Facebook, Zennurgy Poetry, Zennurgy, 100,000 Poets for Change, Awaken Verses. Those are all my pages. You can find my website, laughsandlyrics.com or laughsandlyricsmerch.com, and all of that will be in the video. All those links will be in the video. If you want to be a guest on the Zennurgy Show, you want to talk about some of these principles we have coming up, you can definitely hit my website, sign up on the Google form, and come in and talk about your journey. And thank you for joining us. May you walk in Zennurgy. My name is Zennurgy, and I have a weekly podcast called Zennurgy, which is fuel for the mind, body, and soul. And this is the Zennurgize Your Life Goal Setting Package, Volume 1. It comes with the workbook, a journal, stickers, a bookmark, tabs, and a QR code where you can find my podcast. And inside this workbook, you're going to have 16 different principles. The first one, I'm going to show you mine, is abundance. You have a place to put pictures that inspire you of role models, also pictures of goals that you want to create, goals, journal prompts, meditations, affirmations, all kinds of things to help you focus on this principle to better your life. And like I said, there's 16 principles. So this is a $15 package that comes with all of these things I've shown you, $21 with shipping and handling, and you can get it at laughsandlyrics.com. So Zennurgize your life with me. Thank you.